What?
Subscribe.
Subscribe. We'll highlight all that. Don't you worry.
I'm just
But of
saying,
course,
you gotta remind people.
Subscribe right now.
Subscribe.
subscribe. Of course.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
She's the Gen Z Lady Gaga.
Why are we putting the random emphasis on Gaga as if it's like Cool Whip?
It's fun. It's Monday.
Yeah, no, I like. You want to talk about like the musicians of the last, say, like 5-6 years that everyone's like getting hyped about? Like, I never understood like why people liked Cardi B or Megan Thee Stallion or Doja Cat. Like the music is like mid.
You know why?
What? Because they're hot.
Exactly.
I mean, like Megan Thee Stallion is attractive. Like,
I think all three of them are talented in their own right. It's just a matter of we're getting to that age, and I'm certainly at that age where like we're stuck in the categories of music that we enjoy. So
turn that racket down. It's
so
really hard.
we just listen to like what we like, and the new stuff coming up, it's not intended for our demographic.
It's actually horrible because I used to make fun of my mother who, like, I remember playing. I was okay. How old were we when like Truffle Butter came out? Like early high school. It's like 14, 15. Like Truffle Butter came out and like only, and I used to play that song, and my mom would like this is all fucking bullshit. Where's Billy Joel? Actually, we should probably call my mom. Honestly, it would be perfect for her to call right now and come on into the show because it always happens at the most inopportune times that she calls into the show. But like I told myself one day I'm never gonna be like that. I'm gonna be like the cool dad who listens to my children's like bops. And like my brother will send me something from like Benny the Butcher, and I'm like, it's good, but it's not like 2011 Lil Wayne. It's not
That's
like
the thing
Drake.
too, is like the way that studios and like record labels and stuff are now like marketing their artists. Like it has to be like a 2-minute song, and it has to be able to fit into the TikTok algorithm.
That's very true.
And if it doesn't do that, then they don't want you making the song, and you have to wait for the album to come out. But your hits have to be cookie cutter, and I think that's what annoys me the most about music right now.
And it's funny because cookie cutter now is fitting the TikTok algorithm. I don't know if you remember this, but they highlighted it in the Bohemian Rhapsody movie, but they didn't want to have Bohemian Rhapsody as a single on the track because they wanted it to only be 3.5 minutes long. That was the sweet spot of vinyls at the time. And they're like, nah, fuck that. We're going to have a 5-minute song. Like, it's crazy how much we've developed and changed in music. But then, like,
from vinyls to CDs, having like those constraints to SoundCloud and now TikTok.
And well, you also can't forget Napster before that, and LimeWire getting the mega viruses.
That was you could have as many viruses downloaded onto your computer and or phone and or iPod Shuffle as you wanted.
That is true. Yeah,
there's no limits there.
Throwback to the jailbroken iPhone era, like before, like people were like kids in school and like middle school were like, "Yo, bro, like $30 and I'll jailbreak your iPod Shuffle, like your iPod Touch."
Just ruined your warranty.
It was the funniest thing ever, though, and like kids were like, "Oh, cool! I get to make my keyboard like different colors."
Yeah, now there's an app for that.
It was the dumbest shit like actually of all time. No, but so like the whole point of where we're getting at, though, is like I told myself that I would never be this kind of guy, and like my sister last night, me and Kay went over to my mom's house to have a barbecue, and the whole thing is like Chapel Roan is the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you can come in the frame. It's okay.
Just seeing how far I could get to you without being in the frame.
It's like SpongeBob and Squidward when they put their hand out of the curtain.
Yeah, it's no like Chapel Roan. I don't like get the hype around an artist like her, and she set the record recently for like the largest Lollapalooza crowd.
That crowd
ever.
Was ridiculous.
And you know what's crazy? The top 3 crowd stories of the last like 5 years was people dying of Travis Scott.
Yep.
And so the 2 stories was Travis Scott and basically everyone in the world being a free thinker until Hot to Go comes on and everyone's fucking going ham.
And like, good for her. Like, go get
crazy.
your bag, girl. Like, more power to you. I just don't understand how one day nobody knew who Chappell Roan was.
Yeah.
And then the very next day, that's all you hear about. She is a phenomenon in the sense of truly coming out of thin air.
Well, hold on. There's also this part of music that I don't get. Like Sabrina Carpenter, even like my friends who granted aren't the like smartest on musical trends, didn't figure out who Sabrina Carpenter was until probably
Sabrina
a month.
Carpenter, the hit star of the Disney Channel original spinoff Girl Meets World.
She was in Girl Meets World.
Yes, she was Riley's best friend.
Am I stupid? I've never seen Girl Meets World.
It's great. It's one of the better new age spinoffs of an American classic, Boy Meets World.
How I Met Your Father walked so that Girl Meets World can run.
Yes.
Can outsprint. No, but like my friends, but my one friend Kyle had no idea who Sabrina Carpenter was until like a month out after Please 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 and Espresso came out. And then like you go and like it's $600 for her concert. Like this happened in a month. The same thing happened to Olivia Rodrigo after her one song, which by the way, hit of the hit show High School Musical, the series, which by the way, I saw this on well, this is the last point that I have until we have to go, but I saw yesterday, Sunday, was the 20-year release, I believe, 15 years ago, some of that. 07. 15 years. It was the debut of High School Musical 2. And I remember vividly that night, I know, right? Crazy. I was in Connecticut at my my summer house, like campground, and I remember it was a new episode of Sweet Love Zach and Cody right before it, followed by High School Musical, followed by a new episode of Phineas and Ferb, followed by another show. This was the latest I had ever stayed out at that point because I was like 9, because Phineas and Ferb didn't come on till like 10 o'clock. Oh, the Hannah Montana episode of the Jonas Brothers. That was the same night. All this was the same night. I'm like, holy crap. That was the Barbenheimer of like middle school with the decoms and shit. Oh my goodness.
That's So Sweet Life of Hannah Montana?
No. Two different things.
That was like Avengers Endgame of Disney Channel.
You want to laugh? That whole thing, that and the Timmy Jimmy Power Hour. I was described this to a friend of mine, and I saw it on TikTok shortly after. So I was, as you know, the wedding's coming up in 4 months, and I saw on TikTok, it's like your wedding is the Sweet Life of Hannah Montana. That's So Sweet Life of Hannah Montana. Like it's the greatest crossover episode because you have your friends from her side, your meshed friends, your other friends who neither of you really know. Like you're coming in case never met you. Like she asked me the other day, like, who's DJ Hughes? I go, yep. You'll find out. You'll find out who he is. Yep. All my grad school friends. She's like, who's? So
that is such a good point because I'm in that stage of my life where I am getting bombarded with weddings, and I'm hoping to Christ yours is the last one I have for a long time. Because having 4 weddings this year was not on my bingo card, and yet here I am, going 4 for 4 like I'm Wendy's or Barry Bonds in his prime. And you hit phases of weddings in your life where you get that first invite and it's like, oh, first wedding, here we go, like let's ride. And then you get the wedding where like you're at the bachelor or bachelorette party and it's like, oh, this is a different experience. And then you just keep getting invited to weddings. And it's like, when the fuck does this stop?
So it's funny. I'm actually just hitting that. So I'm the first person in my friend group that's getting married. But then also, Kay's cousin just got engaged yesterday. We're going to a wedding in September. We went to a wedding in December. We have so when I got engaged, my 2 other friends who hope to God they aren't listening to this podcast, kind of like, we're like, oh shit, I need to get on this. So they got engaged shortly after. One of them's getting married in July. The other one's getting married in October. I'm in both of the guys' wedding parties and the bachelor parties. So my wallet is going to be getting hit from my wedding that's happening in December, my bachelor party happening next month, a bachelor party in February, a bachelor party in April, a wedding in July, a wedding in October, another wedding we're going to again in September, her cousin who whenever she gets married, and like around the corner, we're probably going to have 2 or 3 more friends that's probably going to end up getting engaged soon too. So it's like, it's just a whirlwind now, and this is going to be probably the next year and a half for me. probably 2 years. I'm just hoping that at the end of the day, when it comes to like bachelor parties specifically, because we've shifted a lot from the let's go to Atlantic City and get absolutely plastered for one night to now let's go to fucking Argentina to the Patagonia. And like, I'm like, I can't afford a $1,600 weekend.
Literally.
I quantified it to Kay. I was like, we can go for the cost of, let's say, $1,500 to go wherever for a weekend. We were into the cabin in the Poconos for like $250, $300 a person, including food, lodging, and the whole thing for a weekend. You could do 5 of those trips.
Yeah, it's
or
insane.
you could go spend $600 a day to go for a weekend trip to Florida or Georgia or Myrtle Beach. I'm like, it's absolutely ridiculous how far overboard you gotten. I'm like, guys, we're gonna go to Cape Cod. It's gonna be like $500 a person if you golf. If you don't, you're coming out with like $300. That's golden. Like, it's ridiculous how.
I probably spend every other 2 weeks saying I need my friends to stop falling in love because love is fucking expensive.
And love is blind. And it blinds your wallet.
And as the lone single guy in a majority of my friend circles where I am like single as shit, I'm like, I don't have any plans on this hat. And it's funny looking at because everyone always talks about how like the last person in your friend group to get married or any of that is like the reinvigoration of the whole process. And I'm like, I'm going to be that last friend.
Yeah, but you know what, though? The last friend also shows something very valuable, and I think we get very caught up in the whole, like, Love Actually or, like Crazy Stupid Love kind of thing, where you're, like, in your, like, late 30s and like, early 40s, and you haven't, like, found that person yet. Like, hopefully you do find that person, but I think it's, like, funny how, like, people, like, rush into things so often. There are so many people who I knew at 23, 24 that got married. I'm, like, only now getting around to it, and we've been dating for 10 years. Like, I feel like it's crazy. So some of us are like my one friend, and we've been jumping across all different platforms in the first 10 minutes of the show. My one friend was like, like, I'm probably going to be the first one to have kids, and it probably won't happen for another 2 years or so, which also is a horrifying thing. We're in Costco literally 2 hours ago, and Kay's showing me like baby clothes, and I'm like, and yes, they were very cute. But I'm like, all right, like, do you spend $13 now for a baby that's going to happen in 2 years? Or like, alternatively, that there's the idea of like, I'm looking at diaper prices to like see like how they fluctuate, like it's the fucking stock market. So all this is happening, and my friend texts me. He goes, "Oh my god, I found the perfect solution because I'm probably gonna have the first kid. When Steven's child is born, we're gonna take bets on how fast they can run a 40-yard dash, and that'll be our draft order for every year in fantasy football." I'm like, you know what? That's actually a perfect idea. I want to see my 2-year-old run a 30-second 40, and we're all fucking like we have the clocks. We're all timing it. Like
another SpongeBob reference. Combine. It's like when the snails race. It's okay, Rocky. Take your time.
Okay, Rocky. Oh god, yeah. So like that's where life is at. We also hit like 5 different topics in the first 30 minutes of the show. This whole thing should be clipped and just made its own segment. This is absolutely incredible. All right, we're gonna get into the good stuff.
Get in the Hole is brought to you by PHI Apparel Company, our incredible merch partners. PHI Apparel Co. provides unique designs and high-quality clothing from t-shirts to hoodies for every golfer around. With their original designs for all, there's no doubt you'll stand out on the course, the driving range, or at the 19th hole. Go to phiapparel.co and use code UNDERGROUND at checkout for 10% off any order. That's code UNDERGROUND at phiapparel.co and grab exclusive Get in the Hole podcast merch and support your favorite golfers.
Hello, friends. Welcome in to Get in the Hole with Steve McAvoy, and joining me on the seat, Kyle Bennett, stepping in for Ben Pirro as he gets ready for the Met Open tomorrow. Good luck to Ben. We're coming to you live from the Underground, a part of the Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast network on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, or wherever you can get a hold of the beard and the handsome man in glasses right here. Bringing you all the news, analysis, betting tips from across the golfing world, including the PGA, LPGA, Corn Ferry, and Live Golf Tours, proudly presented by Long Island's favorite Tomahawk Shades, located just basically outside my backyard. The best small batch eyewear in the industry, which is founded right here, repped by some of the biggest personalities in sports, including Chris Hogan, Kyle Harrison, John Jay, and Paige Sporanic. Tomahawk Shades is guaranteed to keep you looking fresh from the first hole to the 18th green and beyond. Head to TomahawkShades.com or download the Tomahawk Shades app on the App Store, Google Play Store, and browse their selection of sunglasses, Blue Light Plus glasses, and prescription lenses. Be sure to use code USP for 25% off your next order. Again, code USP at TomahawkShades.com or the Tomahawk Shades app.
And if you download the app right now, their anniversary sale is going on where you can save up to 90% off with code YEARS. That's code YEARS, YEARS. Save up to 90% off for their Tomahawk Shades anniversary sale in the app. And just for downloading the app too, Steve, if you're a new app downloader, you get to claim a free pair of shades.
Honestly, dude, they're probably one of the best deals currently in the eyeglass game. I actually went today to get my eyes checked. Unfortunately, the Costco eye place does not take my insurance yet, so I have yet to get my eyes checked. But when
you know what I call that? You know what I call that? The Costco eye place not taking your insurance. That's a doom.
They ran out of the double chunk chocolate cookies, and
another
big doom. However, they just came out with a chicken and bacon sandwich. That was a 3 out of 5 on the boom scale.
Boom, boom, boom.
Absolute heat. No, but the great thing about Tomahawk Shades, honestly, not only do they have incredible deals, but when it comes to all the other brands that are out there that you can get, knockarounds, Oakley, Ray-Bans, the high-priced luxury brands, you can't beat the value of a good pair of Tomahawk Shades. Again, 25% off USP at Tomahawk Shades or TomahawkShades.com or the Tomahawk Shades app. Let's get into the news of the week, starting with Hideki Matsuyama, a statement victory for his 10th win on the PGA Tour circuit. First round of the playoffs at the FedEx St. Jude Invitational TPC Southwind. I don't know if you were keeping up with the story going into this week that almost no one saw coming. A robbery at the London Heathrow Airport where Hideki Matsuyama's caddy and coach got their passports stolen. He lost his wallet. He luckily was able to get access into the States because they didn't steal his wallet, his passport. So he managed to make it to the event. He hired a friend to travel 3 hours via plane to get in to be the interim caddy. His caddy and coach cannot make it to the States until Eastlake, if he even gets there after playing next week. So he is riding stag, essentially, for the next 2 weeks. Him and his buddy comes out, statement victory, made birdie on 17, pinned it to like 5 feet, birdied 18 to lock up the win, beat out Xander Schauffele, beat out Victor Hovland and crew. A tremendous statement win for someone who honestly, like, I would have been mortified not having your coach around, to get you ready for all this stuff. Granted, he's a 10-year veteran on tour, but the idea that like all of this happens and like he has no money. All the accounts are frozen. He had to just get his way to Memphis.
Give me my money.
Yeah. Was so lucky in order to get to the States. Just absolutely insane. Won't have anybody by his side except for his interim caddy, who not bad for a first ever caddying event. You got to win. You got a good payday. 10% of that big
of a playoff check.
Big 15 bands. What's the payout for the payout for St. Jude? So Hideki made, it should have been like 3.5 something. $3.6 million. He made 10%, or should have made roughly 10% of that, which is actually a ridiculous payday to make in a week. To make a little over 300,000.
According to Google, the total purse is 20 mil.
Yeah, so he would make 3.6 as the winner of the event, which is spectacular for anybody to be able to caddy for the first time. But while Hideki might be might just cut out. Apologies. While the story might just be how Hideki played, the real story is now who is in and who is out for the BMW Championship this week. Of course, 15 spots had to be removed from the top 70 down to the top 50. Some key names that are out this week and were unable to advance. That includes Jordan Spieth. He finished 67th. Minwoo Lee finished 60th. Justin Rose 55th. Tom Kim went bogey, double bogey on the last 4 holes to miss at 51st. An absolute stunner.
Brutal. Didn't Jordan Spieth withdraw?
No, that was who withdrew?
I saw somebody withdrew because of a wrist injury, and they were getting surgery.
Jordan Spieth. I know Jordan Spieth is getting surgery. I don't think he withdrew. I think somebody did.
Check.
I think Max Homa might have withdrawn. Someone did. I'm drawing a blank on who it is. I want to check that.
I'll research it because I think Nuclear Golf tweeted something about it.
Oh no one ended up withdrawing, but Jordan Spieth did announce immediately afterwards that he is getting left wrist surgery. He apparently has been battling this for the last couple of weeks. So I guess it makes sense as to why his year didn't go quite as planned. Honestly, like, kind of strange that it only comes out now that he has this like behemoth injury that he needs to get taken care of. You would think he would have, I don't know, gotten taken care of it earlier on in the year, but that's just me.
Yeah, that is strange. Like, especially for somebody of like his stature and caliber and kind of like knowing the way that he needs to operate for his game. It is weird that he waited this long. If it is something that's been going on for as long as they've said, and who knows, it could have been going on way back further too.
And honestly, you know what? It's one of those situations where players who fight through injury, it's just simply adding insult to injury at that point, literally. There's no point in advancing if you're already on the precipice of not even making. He barely even made it in. He finished at 67th anyways to get into the FedEx St. Jude. He didn't move whatsoever. He also didn't certainly play his best this week, and clearly that risk injury is a factor. The Tom Kim thing, though, is absolutely heinous. This was his first event back since the Olympics, where obviously he finished outside of the medal race, didn't get his exemption from military service. On 6, he went bogey, double, 16, 17, 18, to go from 46th to 51st and miss out where Keegan Bradley advances at 50. A killer weekend for Tom Kim. Arguably one of the best Korean golfers ever already. At only 22 years old. It's so much poise and so much energy from him. It's honestly a shame to see him miss out on another playoff run.
He has time, right, with the whole Korean military obligation.
Yeah, I think he has to serve it by the time he's 31 years old, but he really only gets the Asian Games in 2 years, and then I think 2
LA.
Asian Games and LA in order to get out of it. The problem with LA, though, is that he has a relatively off history playing at Riviera, which is kind of an interesting thing. We'll have to see how over the next 4 years he can perform at Riviera and see if he can turn around those woes in order to get to a spot where he could possibly medal.
So he's 22 now?
Yes.
So then he would have Brisbane, too, if my math is correct.
Well, technically the oldest age to serve it is 31 years old, but it's realistically, I think he might be 31 at Brisbane, so it probably wouldn't factor in that way. Anyhow, when it comes to who is remaining now in the top 50, Hideki Matsuyama with the win jumps all the way up to third. As you know, the numbers game that is winning a playoff event literally boosts you all the way to the top and locks you in essentially for Eastlake. At 50, Keegan Bradley is just over the line. Cam Davis, PGA Tour rookie Nick Dunlap, of course, won his first event as an amateur at the American Express. Max Greyersman, who jumped 8 spots to get into the second round of events. Some other notable names that are out on the outside of the top 30 who need a good push this week going into the BMW in Colorado. Tommy Fleetwood, 31st. Corey Connors, 33rd. JT Poston, 34th. Matt Fitzpatrick and Will Zalatoris, 36th and 37th, respectively. Cameron Young, 39th. And Max Homa, who's had a pretty rough patch of a year, sitting at 43rd right now, going to need a strong push to overtake some of those guys in the top 30 range. including Danny McCarthy, Brian Harmon, Tom Hoagie, Taylor Pendrith, and Davis Thompson, rounding out the bottom 4 from 26 down to 30. So we'll see how that works out. We'll see what goes into the works this week. But before we get into talking about what's going to happen over in Colorado at the BMW Championship at Castle Pines, by the way, the first time that we have a BMW Championship that's going to be not on the East Coast. It's typically played in that like Delaware, Pennsylvania area. It's now going to be all the way out in Colorado, out in Dion's place, out in Castle Pines. So we'll see how that golf course differs on the other side. But a couple of news notes of the week, one of which coming out of the camp of LIVGolf and Jon Rahm, who lost to a playoff against Brooks Koepka at the Greenbrier this weekend. A report from Golf Digest's Jaime Diaz, I believe it is. Let me double check that naming. Yeah, Jaime Diaz reported that a tour insider spoke to Jon Rahm. Spoke to a tour insider who knows of things from Jon Rahm, who reported that if Jon Rahm had the opportunity to give all his money back and rejoin the PGA Tour, he would, saying, quote, I am 100% positive if Jon could give the money back to the Saudis and come back to the tour, he couldn't write a check fast enough. He thought his stature in the game was secure no matter where he was playing, but it was quite a bad miscalculation, to which Jon Rahm replied today in the media, yep, that's why I can't stop smiling out here when he played at the Greenbrier. They just make shit up. It couldn't be further from the truth. What's your opinion here? Because we've had this talk multiple times, and I remember going back to when Ben told us that he knew somebody who had mentioned that Rory was offered almost $1 billion to go join LIV, and immediately in the aftermath of it, he was like, "No, I'll never join LIV." And then about 2 weeks later, it comes out he's like, "Oh, like we should support LIV and we should try and reconjugate the masses." Which, by the way, in an interview this past week at the FedEx St. Jude, Jay Monahan said that there's no imminent talks of a joining and a merger quite yet. This has been happening for 9 months. Like, when are we going to ever
Feels
get
like it's
over
been happening
this,
for
figure
2
it out?
years.
It's going to filibuster like any government policy ever. It's literally like two bodies who just can't come to a conclusion here. But what do you make of this Jon Rahm report, a tour insider giving some sort of a inkling like this? And Jon Rahm, who for the last 4 months has almost kind of been like in treacherous waters, doesn't seem like he's having a very fun time on LIV. People have criticized him out the butt to try and find anything they can get with dirt on him. Do you think Rahm is being is he fabricating his they're making shit up?
I don't know. This is one of those ones where it's like kind of hard to read between the lines a little bit, because Rahm feels like the type of guy who's, if you piss him off, he's not the type that I feel like would hold back in showcasing that he's pissed off. So that's why, like, him saying they just make shit up doesn't surprise me that he's willing to like go out and say that. And I mean, they say money can't buy happiness, but I'm sure money can fix a lot of things and make things good for you. And if you're Jon Rahm and you have, for lack of a better term, like equity in the team that you were given for this league, like you were given a lot of shit. And I feel like anyone presented with that, you're going to take that opportunity. Now, does Jon Rahm miss kind of the competitive aspect of the tour? That wouldn't surprise me. He's one of the ultimate competitors in the sport and wants to play against the best at their best at all times because he wants to showcase that he is the best. He probably misses that aspect of it, where I don't necessarily agree that, if he could write a check for whatever it was, $600 million, whatever it was, plus all the branding to, his team and everything, I don't necessarily believe he would do that, because I feel like that would be a very hysterical mistake to do when you're given a lineage changing money, not just life changing. It's lineage changing. But I do think there is something to where like Jon Rahm misses the format of the PGA Tour and the competitive nature of the PGA Tour. And I think he's just kind of like getting acclimated. Like didn't he join Live like during the season or like right before it? So it was like, wasn't like a full, preparation for what he was getting ready for and everything. So like, there's still like this acclimation period, I think, for where he's trying to get used to what this new format is, in my opinion, and like just figuring out how his play style, can play into what Live presents with their style of golf and everything. I think it's just an adjustment period. I think any athlete has that. But I do think Jon Rahm misses the competitive aspect of the tour.
So I think I'm going to compare it to something that's like very odd. But over the last 2 weeks, Kay and I have been hooked on watching Law and Order. And every single episode of Law and Order almost feels the same way, right? Of course, in SVU, there's a significant crime that is caused. We already know what? Yeah, exactly. Sexually based crimes are especially heinous. And the Special Victims Unit, these are the stories. Bum, bum. No, so every episode, there's always that one part that the writing is on the wall as you figure out about halfway through the episode, because some person gives a little smirk during a testimony, or some person says something that's like doesn't really make sense when being asked questions by detectives, or they find a piece of evidence that doesn't make sense and belongs to somebody. And the writing is finally on the wall. For about 15 minutes, they're leaving you on a cliffhanger to be like, hey, this is the person, but we need to lead up to that. Jon Rahm has almost made it evidently clear, almost in a very awkward way, that I think he really does miss it. I think he misses the competition of it. I think he misses the 72 holes aspect of it and having that whole weekend of play. I think he misses not necessarily the money, but the people. I think he realized that going to Live, even though, PGA Tour players don't necessarily care whether you play Live or play on tour, the relationships simply change over time. You don't see everybody every single week. You only see them 4 times out of the year. And it's the most important weeks of the year, but you're still
like going
not
to
seeing
college.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like literally going to college, going away for break and then coming back, but everyone moves on from you essentially.
Yeah.
Like when he showed up at the Masters, no one played a practice round with him. No one was like gnawing at the bit, but like Brooks was totally fine. I think John is also a bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? I'm totally like drawing a blank.
He's got the demeanor that's not as approachable as somebody like Brooks.
He's very he's antisocial. That's what I'm looking for. He's very quiet. He's reserved. He's to himself. Dustin Johnson is already out there, but people were rubbed the wrong way by Dustin Johnson in the first place when he went to Live. His relationships got tattered. Brooks Koepka, kind of the same attitude. Like he kind of gives off that like douche vibe, but like he doesn't really care whether or not he's on Live or PGA. We already know he's only playing for the majors. Jon Rahm, though, as a figurehead for the top 3 player in the world for the last 3 years, jumping over to Live was a major cataclysmic move. But like noted by Jaime Diaz and this person, his source, he thought his stature in the game was secure no matter where he was playing. And when he jumped to Live, he had made the point of, I'm going to advocate for 72 holes. I'm going to advocate for a more PGA Tour style thing. My job, essentially what Jon Rahm tried doing, was I'm going to infiltrate enemy lines. I'm going to join the enemy, and I'm going to be the catalyst to merge back the PGA Tour and Live, and do the exact opposite of what Rory McIlroy would have ever done. But it hasn't worked out that way because they're still 2 very different entities. They haven't moved to any changes. I think like a month ago, Jon Rahm made a point that he doesn't mind the 54-hole setup, but he would still like to play 72 holes. When they asked him after the Olympics, they were like, "How does 72 holes feel? And did it make a difference?" And he goes, "No, it didn't make a difference at all. Clearly, something happened because you blew up the last 5 holes to lose the event. Like something here doesn't add up." Nick Faldo made a point at the Masters that wearing shorts, he was like out of his mojo. Like he's not used to playing in pants anymore. There's something that like it's those small little things that he says in interviews that I can't pinpoint every single one to you at this very moment. But it very much seems like just like an episode of Law and Order, he is upset that he isn't back on tour. He's upset he isn't playing every single week against Scotty Scheffler and Xander Schauffele and Victor Hovland and Wyndham Clark and the top players in the world every single week. And you and I both know that he went to a playoff at the Greenbrier this weekend on Sunday and very well could have been in contention to have played against Xander Schauffele in the final pairing and not had to go to a playoff on a third day against Brooks Koepka. He probably would have been way happier with the latter.
It almost feels like he feels like when he was approached by Liv that he was promised what you mentioned, like kind of being that merger.
Which he was.
And obviously it hasn't come to fruition yet, but he also doesn't want to like diminish the possibility of that still happening. So he's coming out and, you know, defending himself, defending his decision and everything to go to Liv. So that way the higher ups with Liv don't get pissed off at him. He doesn't piss them off, but also it comes off as very aggressive and defensive to the PGA Tour side of things. And it's like, hey, buddy, you know, the grass isn't always greener. And he's like, yeah, I fucking know, but I got to appease these people over here now because I was, you know, positioned to be the sleeper cell that merged everybody. I was supposed to be the winter soldier.
Exactly. But it hasn't happened. And I think it's showing on the golf course. We always talk about it with Ben, how the mental side of golf is so important because it's such an individualized sport. No one cares about teams. The Liv's trying to push the agenda of teams. People who defend Liv don't watch Liv anyways. So the whole debate of, oh, Liv Golf this, Liv Golf that versus the PGA Tour, I'm never going to watch Liv Golf ever. Like that whole thing is nonsense. I mean, know it. The one thing that actually people care about is the idea that people want to win. But no one cares about the team side of things. Bryson DeChambeau doesn't give a shit that he's playing on the Crushers Golf. He joined Liv Golf in the proper way because he wanted to create content because he's a content creator. And he tried to do that on the PGA Tour, and they censored everything. And he couldn't even get his own freaking clips. So all this happened everyone joined for whatever reason, whether it be for money, for content, for life-changing money. But Jon Rahm tried to go into this as, like you said, the winter soldier, the sleeper cell to merge everything. And he not only has to appease one side, but he's trying to tread water light enough where he wants to be friendly with the PGA Tour when there is a merger back and there is any sanctions that are given, that the blow is lessened for him. Yeah. But at the end of the day, he made a gross miscalculation. And whether or not he actually is genuine in his desire to come back or not, even though he's saying that it's all BS, I truly do think that there is a side of the coin here that is largely weighted than the other. Jon Rahm regrets his decision, and it's shown on the golf course. He has shown physical and mental frustration almost every single week, and you see it. They always point out the hot mics, and they're constant on Liv. A lot of F-bombs being dropped in the Jon Rahm camp.
He's like Atlas, but instead of the world, it's a giant golf ball on his back because he's literally carrying the weight of the golf world on his shoulders, or at least that's how he feels. And like you said, it's showing itself on the course. And speaking of the F-bombs and everything, I don't know if you guys talked about it when I sent it over in the group chat. We had one of the people who was heckling Jon Rahm quote tweet one of the videos. Yeah. Like it's kind of ridiculous, like how all this goes down, and not to just play shit on Jon Rahm, but there is to an extent like you should have known better, because Greg Norman never had the thought ever of changing to 72 holes. Nobody at LIV ever had the thought of merging these two leagues. The PIF is only going to ever join the PGA, but it'll never result in a merger. That's just never going to happen. So the idea that he thought all this would happen, again, a gross miscalculation that I think is going to be a severing moment for his legacy and his career forever. It's the same thing like Phil Mickelson. Phil tried being the sacrificial lamb to go and change the things that the PGA Tour wasn't doing and show that LIV can work. And sure, it works from a production value. People do enjoy it. It's a decent show, even though the field isn't as strong as PGA Tour events now. But still, you're never going to be a Ryder Cup captain. You're never going to be a golf Hall of Famer, probably. Like, you're always going to be looked at differently. You're going to end your career not as the number one player in the world,
but as the 800th player in the world because you're not going to get points outside of majors. Like the reality is that you just simply won't hit that precipice anymore.
Now, I don't know if you guys have discussed this or not, but it just popped in my brain when it comes to the live guys, because they are like on a contract pretty much. Like they sign like what Rahm signed like a 3-year contract or something or whatever it was, whatever it may be. Do you think once these guys are out of these contracts, they'll try to like petition their way back on tour?
I don't know. I really don't. I think I believe there are guys.
I think it'll be circumstantial, obviously, but like somebody like Jon Rahm, somebody like, I don't know, maybe Brooks, like whatever it may be, like once their live contract is up, if there is some sort of like petitioning or arbitration to be like, hey, I want to come back.
So there is, I believe there was a player who played, wasn't like a big time name, but there was a player who was on LIVGolf, but played in a Corn Ferry Tour event relatively recently. And I'm drawing a blank on who it is. I'll find something on it later. But there has been an instance of that. Jon Rahm, I don't think if he loses his contract, which he probably never will he jump? It all comes down also to what the PGA Tour is going to sanction them with whenever it happens. And I don't know what that's going to be. In the past, when this first happened, I said personally they should all go back to Q school and have to work their way back up the ranks as punishment. Ben grossly disagreed with me, but at the end of the day, like how else are you going to punish them for jumping ship when
Turk Pettit or Petit?
I think it is. Yeah, I think Turk was a member of.
He was a former live golfer.
He did play for one of those teams. Let me see what his results were because this will be a determinant of where he's at. Yeah, so he played. So he played in the Corn Ferry Tour event in June. Played on Live in 2022. So yeah, so he has come back, and now he plays on the Corn Ferry Tour, albeit for one event. He might have Monday queued into it. I don't know what the rulings are for the Corn Ferry Tour versus the PGA Tour because they are still two different tours. However, I assume that's an avenue, but I don't think none of these guys are going to lose contracts anytime soon. I think once they get old enough to retire at the Lee Westwood and Richard Bland and Sergio Garcia ages, I think that they're going to retire and call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we'll ever come to that. We need to take a short break, but on the other side, we're going to go over some new announcements to the PGA Tour calendar starting in 2025, as well as a preview of the BMW Championship at Castle Pines, plus some beer money picks. Don't go anywhere. KB and Steve-O right here from the Underground. Yo-ho, hey, howdy, hey, we back. KB and Steve-O here from the Underground to get in the whole podcast. Shout out to our friends at Acorn Hills, by the way. Gotta give them a quick shout here in the second half of the show before we get into what's going on down in Colorado. Acorn Hills bringing you stylish power for on and off the golf course, all using biodegradable packaging and plantable clothing tags. They are changing clothing through conservation. Use code GITH15 at the Getting the Whole 15 for 15% off your next order at acornhillsco.com and look your best from the ground up. We begin with some new sponsors and some new news regarding the PGA Tour calendar in 2025 and the elevated events that come with the schedule. Not much has changed, honestly, from year over year. A couple of small moves, obviously new major sites for the year, including the PGA coming back to Quail Hollow, the U.S. Open going to Oakmont, and the Open going to Royal Portrush this August. With that being said, with the Quail Hollow hosting the PGA actually the week prior to when they would usually play the Wells Fargo Championship. Wells Fargo is now out, and in comes Truist, another banking group takes over the Wells Fargo.
It's interesting about Wells Fargo that they're dropping out of the PGA because they are also not renewing their sponsorship at the Wells Fargo Center in Philly. So I wonder if Wells Fargo is just like, yeah, we're not seeing the return on investment from these big sponsorships, and they're just pulling out of everything.
So let's see. According to a report from 2023 back in December at Golf Channel, Wells Fargo was not renewing the Wells Fargo Championship as a signature event in 2025 and beyond. We are incredibly proud of the 20-year history of the championship. The tour tournament has generated significant local impact and delighted golf fans in Charlotte for across the country. Since 2003, the Wells Fargo Championship has generated more than $30 million in support for numerous charitable donations. News of Wells Fargo ending the sponsorship was first reported by the Charlotte Business Journal. The Sports Business Journal reported last month that the tour held a call with more than 50 tournament officials and discussed new funding model that would see the tournament put up an additional fee that would go up towards event purses. I think part of it is because the sponsor is going to have to give more money in order for the purse, but also the funding of it. It says here, SBJ added on Friday, the Wells Fargo wanted to remain as a sponsor and made an offer north of $20 million to renew. It also raised the possibility of dropping signature status to lessen the cost. So I believe you're right. The ROI simply isn't there. I think golf overall, when it comes to the sponsors that are involved, there are obviously big names involved, but I do think that the ROI isn't as big as opposed to like something like the Wells Fargo Center. I'm surprised they actually are dropping that because it is a big venue, particularly in the Philadelphia market. It could also be a localized thing. Like they might just not find that the money could be spent elsewhere towards other marketing promotions. Maybe the Wells Fargo Center isn't bringing in enough big time acts or strong enough sporting events.
I'm also wondering if it's just like because they are like a Flyers centric like partner. So I'm wondering if it's like the city / the arena's attempt to like try to keep the Sixers in Philly.
That could definitely make sense. I know, like with Chase, they're the sponsor of not only the both the Knicks and the Rangers, but also just Madison Square Garden as a whole. It's also a little bit different. I don't know if like the Flyers or the Sixers, whoever owns the teams, owns the Wells Fargo Center. Like James Dolan owns
Flyers.
Okay,
so it's like Comcast
so
Spectacor owns.
So it makes sense. So like James Dolan owns the Rangers, owns the Knicks, owns MSG, owns the Sphere, all of which under the Madison Square Garden Company are sponsored by Chase. Mm-hmm. So like those things will never change. Obviously, MSG will never change their names like the Chase Center. But in this instance, like Wells Fargo might be a main partner of all these teams, but they're just simply not seeing the ROI. So Truist takes over for Wells Fargo, clearly trying to cut costs there.
And on the flip side, Truist is one of those companies that feels like they are just all in on
they're soaring
sponsoring because they're the Atlanta Braves stadium naming sponsor. Now they're going to the PGA Tour. I think they sponsor a couple other like big name sporting type things too. Like they're an entity that feels like they are like ready to take that big deep dive into having their name plastered everywhere.
Yeah, and Truist also recently just signed a actually or this was in 2021. They signed a whole on marketing group to be like the main sponsor of the University of Texas Longhorns. Like another huge major entity. And not for nothing, like Quail Hollow has been a signature event on the PGA Tour forever. Not even when they had the elevated event model, but even prior to that, it was one of those events that everyone flocked to in Charlotte. It's been a host of majors in the past. It's hosted the President's Cup a few years ago. So it's obviously a huge deal. The one huge change, though, for the PGA this year, of course, the elevated events haven't changed much, but they keep on doing this, and they clearly don't listen to the show. Some people do listen to the show. They don't. I don't understand why the PGA Tour continues to put elevated events either the week before or the week after a major. We already know at the major calendar, people usually don't play the week prior or the week after because it takes so much out of you. But for example, now this year, for the first time, there's an elevated event before or after every single event leading up to the Masters. There's going to be the RBC Heritage following the week after. Same thing as last year. Most guys don't play the Valero. Some do. But the RBC Heritage forever at Harbortown in South Carolina has been a major flocking event. It's already going to garner that big time status. Why are we having it the week after the Masters? Have it the week after the week, 2 weeks afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
so that you're not forcing players to play back-to-back weeks, because now no one's going to want to play in the Valero. The same thing happens now at PGA. Everyone has to go play the Truist Championship, which is the former Wells Fargo Championship, then go play the PGA. No one's going to play the Charles Schwab, which Colonial forever has been a very prominent golf course that people flock to. No one's going to want to play it because in the week after that, they have to play the Memorial, another elevated event. And then after the Memorial, it's the RBC Canadian Open, which is going to take the biggest hit of all, because no one's going to play the RBC Canadian Open because they already played the PGA, took a week off, played the Memorial, took a week off at the RBC Canadian Open to then go to the US Open and then have to play another signature event of the Travelers, in which case no one's going to play the Rocket Mortgage, which is a new upcoming event in a market that the PGA Tour has been trying to grow for the last 3 years out in Detroit. And then, of course, for the Open, they have the Scottish Open is the one event that everyone goes to play anyways in lieu of the Open, which means that it's not a major per se in this instance, but not a lot of folks are going to go play the 3M the following week or go play the John Deere the week prior. So I don't get why the PGA Tour continues to do this and schedules signature events when really they don't even need the signature tag. Like I had mentioned this before, the RBC Canadian Open should really be its own signature event because it's a national tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Canadian Open. It's like we have the Open, we have the US Open. That's all of
that
Britain.
Is weird.
The US Open. This is literally the country's only event. Why not make it?
Especially since the other two are majors. Like, make this,
Yeah.
like you said, make this a big deal. Make it an entity.
And not for nothing, the RBC Heritage, again, the other event sponsored by RBC, is already a big time event because you go to a Pete Dye golf course. It's the one event in South Carolina that everyone wants to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you making it a signature event? Think of it this way, too. And this is the interesting part. Not even the Waste Management is a signature event because they know people go to it. People know they go to the Travelers.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one event in the Northeast. People go to Quail Hollow, no matter what, because it's a big time event. They go to Riviera because it's Tiger's event. Although the 3 events that you really can never get rid of in terms of signature events is going to be Riviera because it's Tiger's, the Memorial because it's Jack's, and Bay Hill because it's Arnold's. Those are going to stay forever. But of that, you don't put the tag
until Trout National makes its way.
Get the fuck out of here. Tiger's second place. Eventually, we're just gonna have the true Tiger Slam, and they're gonna have 4 Tiger courses on the calendar. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they do it one day.
You get a golden Tiger trophy.
But like the fact that they already know bodies go to the Waste Management, and so they don't put the tag on it. They put it in year 1. They only put the tag on Pebble Beach because no one wants to play Pebble Beach anyways. So like
play it at a stupid time of the year.
Exactly, and also no one wants to play with Bill Murray taking up 6 hours to putt between his legs. Like it's like cool, it's a gimmick, it's fun, but no one wants to watch it and no one wants to play it. Like we should be putting events on other. We should be putting signature tags on other big time events that people want to go see. People want to go to the Rocket Mortgage. People want to go to the RBC Canadian Open. People want to go see like the Valero or like the Valspar, which is an incredibly underrated event, or even what was the Honda Classic, which is now the Cognizant, like big time events that don't get enough love. The signature event tax should be on events that need to grow and not ones that are already so big.
I'm also looking at this. Just like it's one of those things that it's like golf does so many things to push forward and make the game better, and then they do shit like this that brings it back to square one.
Yeah, it happens every single time. Like the PGA Tour, and this goes back to everybody in golf that I've talked to, whether it be insiders to people like Monday Q Info, or you can listen back to our interview with him with Ryan French. Last question I asked him was literally, does Jay Monahan need to go? He said, yeah. Like, everyone agrees he sucks at his job. He should not be the commissioner of this sport. As much, honestly, and I mentioned this to my friends who don't follow golf as much. They asked me, like how bad is Jay Monahan? I said Rob Manfred deserves his job more than Jay Monahan.
Ooh.
which is bad.
That is bad.
Did you hear the MLB wants to implement a 6-inning minimum now for starters? What the fuck is that?
Number one, that will never pass because the Players
you're-
Association will motherfuck them to oblivion.
And you're literally ruining the integrity of baseball.
Mhm.
The same thing is happening in golf. They're ruining the integrity of the game by trying to set up these ridiculous ideas to try and combat live. The whole elevated event model came about because they needed more money to give the players because they wanted to combat live. So we're going to merge. Why not get rid of it? Just raise purses in general. Make it more spread out.
Are we going to go to the Truist Classic?
We should. That's the other part that was the change for the PGA Tour schedule. With Quail Hollow taking over as the PGA site, they are not going to be playing at Quail Hollow the week prior, which would actually be really funny if they played Quail Hollow back-to-back weeks for a regular event, not a major. They're going to be going to the Philadelphia Cricket Club. I have no idea where it is in proximity to you.
It is in Willow Grove, I believe. Pulling it up right now.
You might as well speak Chinese to me. I have no idea where Willow Grove is.
Let's see.
It's technically located actually in the greater Philadelphia area. It says here it is it's by Chestnut Hill.
Willow Grove. Yeah. It's like an hour away, hour change.
Honestly, I would totally do it. We should organize a boots on the ground event to go and watch
May 5th to the 11th, 2025.
May 5th to the 11th.
That's like perfect time for me because lacrosse is done. I'm in that perfect like bubble space between NLL and PLL season. Philly season is like just getting going, so it's like chill vibes. That's like perfect timing for me.
We're gonna have to definitely dig into this and see what we can do to make this happen. I think this is actually a really good idea that we're firing into. Let's get into the beer money picks and a breakdown of what to expect this week at Castle Pines, presented by our friends over at Kenwood Beer. I made a funny joke last week on the show. I was like, for every Kenny Gainwell touchdown this year, we should just post videos of us just shotgunning Kenny's.
I'm about it because Kenwood Beer has an affinity to post whenever Kenny scores, and it's called Kenny Time.
That's what I'm saying. So I think we need to capitalize on this partnership. But speaking of which, I want to go to Eagles Giants in Philadelphia. I don't care what the weather is. We need to go, and we
last
need to
game of the season, right?
Oh, in fucking January. Oh god, we're gonna be annihilating like warm Kenny's, like heated up Kenwood beers.
Let's see.
Honestly, it might happen. I'm gonna let you handle the ad run here on Kenwood Beer because I'm just like starting to like get
week 18 is Lincoln Financial Field.
Oh my god,
Eagles Giants.
We're gonna be frozen to the seats.
Eagles Giants at MetLife is Sunday, October 20th.
More possible.
1 p.m. kickoff.
Let's see what we can do for that.
We'll figure something out.
We'll find a way. But if Kenny Gainwell scores, we're knocking back Kenny's.
100%. Kenwood Beer. It is the #1 light beer in the Philadelphia area. It's 120 calories, just 8 grams of carbs, 4.1% ABV. They're making their rounds everywhere in the South Jersey, to Philly, to Pittsburgh, to Maryland, to Delaware areas. And now, this entire summer season, it's been available. They've had the Tall Boy Kenny's at the Mann Center. So if you're going to concerts, shows, whatever it may be at the Mann Center, Steve, I got to tell you, I got to get you to the Mann Center one day because I know you're a big like concert guy. It's like an outdoor amphitheater type vibe. I went last year to Arctic Monkeys in September. Unbelievable the renovations they have done to that place since the previous time I had been there. It is one of my favorite concert venues in Philly. And they have Kenwood Beer available now in the Tall Boy Kenny cans. So go to kenwoodbeer.com, click the link in the description to use the Kenny Finder to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in those markets that we mentioned. You can also get it at your local liquor stores in those markets. And check out the Kenwood Beer storefront to get your awesome Kenwood Beer pint glasses, t-shirts, beach towels, stickers, hats, They've got great apparel as well. That's kenwoodbeer.com. Must be 21 or older to do so. And of course, please drink responsibly.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm looking at the upcoming events at the Man Center. I would actually love to go and see Anderson Paak. That would the Anderson Paak and the Free Nationals. That would be awesome. Also, Vampire Weekend. I don't listen to Vampire Weekend. I know Kay does, or she used to when she was younger. That would actually be kind of hilarious. There are some pretty good acts coming up. No free ads to the Man Center, but like Mount Joy is going to be there soon.
Great band.
Rainbow Kitten Surprise, one of the best band names I've ever heard of. I would go see Meghan Trainor, which I did actually just watch all 3 Spy Kids movies. Like ahead of its time, and it was actually kind of horrible to see at the very end. I didn't realize this, but they were made by Miramax. And do you know who the head of Miramax is?
Yeah.
Yeah, to see Harvey Weinstein's name draped on the whole thing, executive producer Harvey Weinstein, that like really kind of like freaks you out and almost like grinds your gears. So as we transition, PGA Tour now heads to Castle Pines Golf Club, par 72, 8,000 yards, the longest event on the PGA Tour calendar.
Whenever you guys read the yardage for these events, I just hear the Anchor Arms episode of SpongeBob, another SpongeBob reference here, where they're just launching anchors and 400 yards,
no, like
8,000 yards.
Typically on this show, if you see a number that's more than like 7,500, you're like, oh shit, it's a long golf course. 8,000 yards. Although it pales in comparison to TPC Colorado, which has, I believe it's like the 15th hole is like a 773 yards. But the beauty of playing in Colorado is that it's 8,000 yards, but it really only plays like about like 6,900 because you're just elevating the fuck out of this golf course. So you're going to be piping drives all over this place. It will, in fact, play much shorter than 8,000 yards. I can guarantee you that. Course featuring bent grass greens and is a Jack Nicklaus design. Previously, this course did actually host a tournament, the international tournament from the PGA Tour from 1986 to 2006. It's the first time the BMW takes on a golf event out in Colorado. Some key stats for the week. Should be a pretty dry week throughout. Strokes gained, ball striking is going to be huge this week. Putting on bent grass is going to be very valuable. Guys who play well in high elevation golf courses, the sample size is incredibly small. The only real like super elevation changes that you have at PGA Tour events really is just the Century in Hawaii, which only really applies to about 50 golfers a year anyways, because it's an invitational tournament. So don't really see a lot of those like major crazy elevation changes. But guys like Patrick Cantlay and Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, JT, Sahith Theegala, guys who like have experience playing in those high elevation changing events. Guys who play well on Jack Nicklaus designs is going to be really big. Matt Vincenzi, who works for GolfWorks, he had an interview with general manager of Castle Pines, Keith Schneider. He said he'd expect a winner here to be about 20 under par, which is going to basically mean that if you can find good proximity and you can have good birdie putts, then you will win at this golf course. He said, quote, weather will dictate that. If the golf course is soft, they'll throw darts at it so that the score will be down. If we were really concerned about score, we could have made a couple of par 5s, par 4s. That's not the history of this golf course. The history of the golf course is a par 72, and I want to honor and respect that. So guys who are able to launch the ball far, hit the ball somewhat straight, you can be a little bit erratic. Work the elevation changes, putt really well on the bent grass greens. You should be in for a pretty good week here at the BMW. With that being said, let's get into a top 20 finisher this week. You know, I'm a little bit nervous, and I know Ben won't listen to this, but don't tell Ben this. He's only one back in our beer money.
Guys, trust tree. Don't tell Ben. Everyone listening right now, don't tell Ben.
Ben's only one back, and I'm a little bit nervous, but I have a good feeling.
Trust tree.
I have a good feeling that I will beat Ben, and the fact that it's going to come down to one last week, and I just need to beat him by one, is crazy. And it happens to be the 1 week where there's only 30 fucking people in the field.
So your odds are both greater and slimmer all at the same time.
I will tell you this. I will tell you this much. I'm going to have the safest betting card on earth next week. I might pick Scotty Scheffler for like a top 20.
At minus 800.
That's how safe we're getting this week. Top 20 pick at TPC. That's not TPC. Jesus Christ. Castle Pines in Colorado for the BMW. Who you got?
Number one, Castle Pines is a great name for a golf course.
Honestly, the logo is sick too.
Let's see. Who am I going to take? Top 20. Top 20. I am going to go with my Lord and Savior, Shane Lowry. Plus 110.
I want to bless sweet baby Jesus in the manger. Whenever I hear that, it's exactly what I think of. Top 20 pick for moi. Let's see. BMW odds. Let's pull up that top 20 list and let's see what's good for you. I like this week Billy Horschel. Billy Boy Horschel minus 140. I think it's a pretty safe play, at least on my end. If I'm going to go a little bit further on that, I'd probably say like Sai Thagala, who is sitting around.
I was looking at him too.
At minus 105. I'm going to go with Sai Thagala because he has the better odds at minus 105. He's been a bit.
I don't hate the
Horschel
pick though either.
He's
For
been really
out there. Bonus pick.
Horschel's been really strong, particularly in the last like 5 weeks, and he's not. He's been really good on bent grass. He's been really efficient, even though he's known more as a Bermuda guy playing down south. He actually ranked second in the field in strokes gained putting on bent grass. That's Billy Horschel. But Thagala, I think, has the better play here. He always plays really well in these big time elevated events. He ranks 15th in the field in playing on Jack Nicklaus courses. He finished T12 at the Memorial and PGA, both of which were Nicklaus designs. He's been a little quiet as of late, but I think this is a strong play for him to finish out and keep his status in the top 30 for next week. Top 10.
My top 10, I am going to rock out with.
Pause.
I like this. Plus 200, Wyndham Clark for top 10.
I've been so iffy on Wyndham Clark the whole entire year, and I don't know how I feel about a player like him. He had a good week this past week. I can't buy into it quite yet, to be honest.
Actually, I'm gonna take a timeout. We're gonna do a redo because
Mulligan.
Yeah. Plus 225. My other Lord and Savior, part of the Holy Trinity of KB on this show. Give me Corey Connors.
I love that so much. Also needs a good week in order to push himself up into the top 30. He's only 3 back at 33rd. I'm going to go with a crazy one. I like... He played really well at the FedEx St. Jude, and I had mentioned this. He's talented. He's a rookie this year. He has the skills to pay the bills, and he has shown it in big-time events. Plus 400, way back. And it's a big ask to have him win at 65-1. But Nick Dunlap has been no stranger to highly elevated events. He's a tremendously talented golfer. He actually won the U.S. Amateur at Cherry Hills, which is in Colorado. It was him who won. Who's only the second golfer ever to win the U.S. Junior Amateur and the U.S. Amateur. He's shown that he can play good on Jack Nicklaus courses. He's played at Old Greenwood in the past. He played really well this past week. He played well at the Memorial. He went blow for blow with Scotty Scheffler this past week and beat him by 3 shots in the third round. The nerves have died out for Nick Dunlap. I have a really good feeling in the 20-year-old of a really strong top 10 performance. Top 5. What you got?
Top 5. I am going to go with one of this podcast's darling boys at plus 330, Ludwig Aberg.
I'm going to go with another guy who's at plus 330. Actually, no, he's a little bit lower. It's actually plus 450. I lied to you. My winning pick is actually at plus 330 to win. to not win, but place top 5. My winning pick is there. Plus 450, my darling boy. 5 years ago in 2019, I watched this man smack the shit out of the ball in New Jersey, and I fell in love with him from day one. And it was the first time he had won a golf event in like 5 years, and he won it in the playoffs at the Northern Trust at Liberty National. Tony Finau is going to manhandle this golf course. Plus 450 at a top 5 for Tony the Tiger Finau. Your gimme pick of the week.
My gimme pick of the week. Let's see here. I am going to go with scrolling back here. I'm gonna take your bonus pick and Billy Horschel top 20.
I love it. Finish this sentence for me. Death, taxes.
Steve's about to make a pick that he typically makes on this podcast.
Yep. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be honest with you, like the number really isn't that good, but it's something that you can almost kind of like get away with. Just because like it's the lock of the year, and it's such a guaranteed hit number. It's minus 225. I get it, but Xander Schauffele for a top 10, and if you can compound that as well with a Corey Connors top 20, and you'll be in the positive numbers overall. Connors is minus 125, Xander's minus 225 for top 10, Connors top 20. You do that, it's a safe play. Both of them will end up playing quite well this week. If I had to give you another gimme, though, I would take Patrick Cantlay for a top 10 at plus 140. And for that exact reason, as we go into our winning picks, I'm actually going to jump ahead of you and give me my winning pick. Patrick Cantlay is going to win this event this week. I took him to win, or took him for a top 10 last week. He finished right outside the number of 12th. He hadn't played since the Open going into last week. He finished team 9th. He finished team 9 at the FedEx St. Jude. He played impeccably well. He got off to a slow start early on. He managed to carry on 3 under, 4 under, 4 under in a 3-round climb. He managed to get all the way up. Sorry, he finished a tie for 12th place finish this past week. I think that he's won the BMW in 2 of the last 3 years. This hasn't. They obviously they've played at a different course each of the last 2-3 years, but this is like a fantastic fit for him. In his past 30 rounds, according to Matt Vincenzi, strokes gained total in high elevation. He also leads the field in strokes gained total on Jack Nicklaus design courses. This is a horse for course, easy play. He's won at Murfield Village twice, albeit not elevated as much, but a Jack Nicklaus design. He always manages to play super well at not only the BMW, but just playoff events. 6 of his 7 individual wins have come on bent grass greens, 2 of which have come at the BMW in 2021 and 2023. I like Patrick Cantlay to win. I also like him as my gimme at a top 10 finish.
I am going to give everyone a bonus pick first because this seems fun. On a certain sports book, no free ads, it's green. Double chance. So you have 2 chances to win here. Plus 175, Scotty or Xander to win. That's just fun to get plus odds on 2 absolute dogs. But at plus 550, I am going to take Xander Schauffele to win.
I dig it. I do. I'm trying to find another fun, a fun double or triple for you that I think could be compelling, but I can't find any that features Patrick Cantlay with somebody else who I would match him up with.
Who do you think is going to lead after round 1?
This is a fun one.
It's some good odds.
This is a fun one. Let's make a deal. If I guess this right, get me something good.
All right, deal.
If I hammer this thing, this is going to be like the greatest play of all time. Leader after round 1, putting contest, needs a good opening start. but is someone who's definitely not going to be in contention on Sunday. I'm going to take like the Hail Mary pick here. I'm going to go, Look at these odds. I'm trying to conjure this out. Who hits the ball long? Who puts it really well? I'm going to go Sam Burns.
Plus 2,800.
He's not known necessarily for bent grass. He's more of a Bermuda guy. Or actually, Billy Horschel at 30-1. Yeah. Another good one. You know what? I'm going to take Billy Horschel. That's going to be the final pick. Billy Horschel.
It's Billy Horschel week on the Getting the Whole podcast.
Did you? So you weren't in for this. Did you see him at the Open? He wore the BDO hat. So BDO is a financial firm.
Okay.
Look up Billy Horschel at the Open, and it's him wearing like a polo cardigan, and the hat, it says BDO on it. It should be like the It's the fourth photo that pops up. He's in like a quarter zip windbreaker that's polo, and it says BDO with like the line under it, and it's all in white. Okay, so that hat, it's BDO, the financial firm, but it's typically that L, or so it looks like, should be a red line, but instead, with all white, it looks like libido. Which if you look up libido, LBDO, it is a sex shop. And Colin Landforce, who's someone who you should really follow if you're interested in golf and like product development and like brand marketing, looked up the click rate that the week of the Open for libido.com versus BDO.com, and libido was like 98% of the search history because everyone's like, what's libido? And naturally they advertise on the PGA Tour because it's a sex shop for men. Like, it perfect.
That's
perfect.
Amazing.
So Billy Horschel is the first round leader. Let's buy something from libido.com.
That's unreal.
We are giving away sex toys and to get the whole podcast.
Hey, if they want to sponsor the show,
like, follow, subscribe. Oh my god, that would be the worst giveaway of all time. I would never live that down. That would actually be almost as bad as getting the bowl.
What if I just showed up to your wedding, bag in hand?
Please don't do that.
Here's your gift.
That's like every episode of like TV shows where it's like, oh, like I got my best friend at the bridal shower, like a gigantic like sex toy,
right?
And like grandma's there and like you're trying to hide it. Or like the episode of Drake and Josh when they try and give out the vinyl signed by all four Beatles, and they end up in the Star Wars costumes.
So good.
Alvin Yakitori and Jefferson Steelflex.
What a program!
This was honestly the first 13 minutes of the show was probably the best part of the show. we ran through the gamut of current events.
Unbelievable. We ran through the gamut of life.
We do this too often.
It's good. We genuinely need a podcast of just life.
I did a podcast when I was in college. It was me and my friend would show up in the radio station when everyone was gone. It'd be like a Saturday, and like public safety was like not really working, and we would just go in with a bottle of Jack Daniels on Saturdays, just drink and listen to country music and just talk. And it would be an hour, and we would just shoot the bull for an hour and a half, playing like country songs and
that's unreal,
and sipping whiskey. And it was literally it was the after hours. It was me and Jack, an after hours show, and it was me and this kid Dustin, and we were just sip on whiskey.
That's incredible.
It was tremendous. That's been episode 168 of the Get in the Hole podcast. KB sitting in for Ben Piero. Good luck for Ben at the Mid Open tomorrow as he looks to claim another trophy in the case. For Kyle Bennett, I'm Steve McAvoy. Please like, follow, subscribe, Get in the Hole pod on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, as well as Underground Sports PHI on YouTube. Get us that 1,000 subscriber mark. Listen to all of our shows on the Get in the Hole and Underground Sports Philadelphia side. We have a ton of great content coming your way. KB, I might jump on for you as your co-host for the main pod if it means that we can just talk about all this like random crap.
Hey, I'm always down for random discussions and fun.
Should honestly just be the show, like just you and I kicking it and shooting the shit about the randomest things.
Absolutely. Yeah, subscribe to the pod. Leave those 5-star reviews, leave a like on the video on YouTube, and
vote in our polls too. We have fun polls.
I try to make the polls fun, and I've noticed that making the polls also contributes to more downloads. So
there you go.
And working the polls there. Pokemon Go to the polls.
Shout out, by the way, to the Quinnipiac poll, my alma mater, which they didn't pay you anything, but to just cold call people and have old men and women yell at you and talk to you because you're supporting liberal media.
Sounds like my day job.
Pokemon Go to the polls. I'm dead. All right, Kamala Harris. God damn it. All right, on that note, for KB, I'm Steve. Thanks for listening to Get in the Hole, the official golf podcast of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Catch us every week wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and be sure to like and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Get in the Hole Pod, and follow Underground Sports Philadelphia at Underground PHI. We'll see you next time, and remember, get in the hole!